Shazam! What up, big kids? It's that time of year again. Before we get into my top 10 movies of 2018, I want to thank Warner Brothers for sending me this awesome Shazam Christmas sweater or ugly Christmas sweater, whatever you want to call it. But it lights up every time you talk. Now, that is pretty freaking awesome. So, thank you, Warner Brothers and DC. Now let's get into my top 10 list. Now, one thing I want to say, this was a great year for movies, great year for comic book movies. I couldn't include all of them on the list. I'll get into honorable mentions later on in the video. I have to say this year was a crazy year for movies. Also, interesting year. I never thought we'd have a good Transformers movie or a bad Star Wars movie again. Solo definitely didn't make my list. And of all the comic book movies, you'll see which ones didn't make it. But yeah, let's just get on to it, you guys. Here's my top 10 movies of 2018. Number 10, Bumblebee. Who would have thought that I would actually be excited for a Transformers movie again? After Michael Bay has decimated my beloved franchise, Travis Knight, who I loved in Kubo and the Two Strings, really brought Transformers to what it should have been from the beginning. And that first 5 minutes of the movie is the best thing I've seen in any Transformers movies to date. But on top of that, if you're didn't grow up with the G1 Transformers, this is a great movie. It's very heartfelt. I actually teared up a few times. Haley Steinfeld and John Cena really bring it. Especially John Cena has some of the best lines in the movie. And just the designs on all the Transformers, whether it's Bumblebee or Optimus and the Decepticons, it's just everything I ever wanted in a Transformers movie. Of course, we could have had more of the Civil War, but as a movie that really makes you feel good to watch a Transformers movie again, I think with Travis Knight, this movie is like night and day. Number 9, Mission Impossible Fallout. Tom Cruise in the Mission Impossible franchise is like a fine wine. They just get better with age. Who would have thought with 6 movies that the series has just gone in the best Mission Impossible movie yet? This movie blew me away. The action scenes, the practical effects, the cast brought their A game. I love Henry Cavill's villain, and he's actually one of the main reasons I actually grew a mustache, besides another movie on this list, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, Vin Rames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Angela Bassett, Michelle Monaghan, they all brought it, and just the action on here was amazing. Of course, a lot of Tom Cruise running, but really, there was some jaw-dropping action in this movie, and definitely, if this was the last Mission Impossible film, I'd be happy, but also I welcome more of these movies until Tom Cruise kills himself filming these movies. Number 8, The Deathless Superman. Superman turned 80 this year, and what best way to celebrate his 80th birthday but by killing him? Now, this was an animated adaptation of The Deathless Superman. It's actually their second attempt with Superman Doomsday coming out many years ago, and also with Batman v Superman adapting this. Who thought, haven't we seen this already? But we haven't seen it this well adapted ever in any medium. And it's actually better than the comic because they're bringing out the Justice League in this new 52 DC animated universe they've been building up. Great voice cast by Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romijn. It's just a really top-notch, action-packed, heartfelt movie. I actually cried a couple times in this movie. If you love Superman, then you have to see this movie. Number 7, Isle of Dogs. I love Wes Anderson movies, I love stop motion, and I love dogs. So this movie was made for me. This movie was so heartfelt. I teared up so much in this movie. The animation, just the stop motion on the dogs themselves are just beautiful. And it's cool that it takes place in Japan. Just really tells a really captivating story. And I love the voice cast from Bryan Cranston, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Edward Norton, and the whole Japanese cast. They really brought their A game. This movie is so quirky, just like any Wes Anderson movie. And it's definitely shot with his very centered, symmetrical shots. Really love the animation in this movie. It's very unique. Not the best anime movie, we'll get to that in a bit. But really, if you love dogs and you would do anything to find your dog like I would, this movie was definitely made for you. And also, I love the soundtrack. Wes Anderson really brings it with his soundtrack, and I was listening to the soundtrack long after this movie, and this movie definitely hit me in the heart, and it definitely is for man's best friend. Number 6, Aquaman. My man, alright. Jason Momoa really brought it. He's made Arthur Curry, Aquaman, his own. And I really love what James Wan really brought to the DCEU, really showing Atlantis and the Seven Kingdoms, just how beautiful and stunning this world is in the ocean. And Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Dolph Lundgren, really just brilliant. A great cast, really heartfelt moments at times, amazing action, like some of the best action scenes I've seen all year. And Black Manta, Aquaman, Ocean Master, Mira, all looking freaking comic accurate. I love how comic book movie this is. It really embraced all the craziness and silliness of the Aquaman's lore, and I really loved it. It's definitely a movie to see on the big screen, and it really gives me hope for the DCEU. Number 5, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. I love the first Wreck-It Ralph, and to see it go to a whole new place, the internet, and seeing the internet in very Disney-fied, definitely not any crude, sexualized way the actual internet is, was amazing. And actually a very, very heartfelt story. This movie hit close to home in so many levels, not only with friends, but also just making a living off the internet for so many years. This movie just reminded me of the highs and lows of the internet, and how hard life is, both on being on the internet, but also just having friends. And also the crossover with all the Disney princesses was one of the best crossovers of all time. Maybe not the greatest one, we'll get to that in a bit. But wow, seeing all my favorite Disney princesses together was a sight to behold. So much great humor, beautiful animation. It made me cry. Definitely a great sequel to a really great movie. This movie just didn't break the internet, it broke my heart. And it also has one of the best after credit scenes of all time. Not the best one, we'll get to that in a moment. Number 4, Bohemian Rhapsody. Bryan Singer wanted to say, we will rock you with a Queen movie, and he definitely rocked us. Rami Malek just was Freddie Mercury. I love Queen so much, and even though this movie takes some liberties with Queen's life story, this movie just hit me so hard in the heart. I love, hearing all Queen's music throughout the movie. The cast really brought the band members to life, even though it was in some parts by the numbers band biopic movie. It was really great to see a lot of high and lows of Queen, and really just seeing one of the greatest bands of all time, even if it was fictionalized somewhat, was really just tearjerker and a really momentous movie to watch. And also, Mike Myers' cameo in the movie. Really, if you're a fan of Wayne's World, you will absolutely love. This movie actually made me want to grow a mustache. This movie reminded me why I love Queen, and for a new generation, it will remind us why Queen is one of the greatest rock bands of all time. And Freddie Mercury will always be one of the greatest frontmen of all time. Number 3, Black Panther. Now, Black Panther definitely has a place in history, and not only being an amazing superhero movie that really showcased African culture in a whole new light, it really just showed that people want to see diverse superheroes. We want to see, leads like Chadwick Boseman really showcase how a great movie directed by Ryan Coogler with an amazing, one of the best villains with Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. Black Panther really has its place in history, not only in the box office, making over $1 billion, but really with the superhero genre in general. It really made you think about what's going on in the world. And even though Wakanda is a fictional world, it could happen if we wanted it to, and we can really change the world. We don't have to be a king or a superhero. We can just show that we actually want more diversity in our superheroes and in film in general. This movie was a landmark, and it makes me want to say, Wakanda forever! Number 2, Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Best Spider-Man movie ever. I'm going to say it is. And I love all the live action movies in some regards, Amazing Spider-Man films. Finally seeing Miles Morales, a character of African American and Latino descent, in the big screen was amazing. It's been a great year for Spider-Man. The Spider-Man PS4 game is my favorite video game of the year. I absolutely loved him in Infinity War. But yeah, seeing this animated movie, which hands down was the best animated movie of the year. I'm sorry, Disney, Pixar, sorry, DreamWorks, but really the animation just blew me away. It was something I've never seen before on film. And that's saying something with all the amazing animated movies that came out this year alone. But really, Spider Man is a character that represents anyone, not just Peter Parker, not just Miles Morales, not just Gwen Stacy, but anyone could be Spider-Man. And this movie really sold me on this. Seeing all the different Spider characters from Spider-Ham, the Spider Noir, it was just absolutely amazing. It was an experience. I just love experiencing it over and over again. Hands down the best Spider-Man movie, and I cannot wait to see what Sony does with the Spider-Man characters in the future. Now, I can't believe I'm saying that. Now let's get on to my honorable mentions before we get into number one. Paddington 2. This movie was so sweet, and not because I had a lot of marmalade, but it was so earnest and such a great movie. In a movie year with Christopher Robin, I really want to see Winnie the Pooh and Paddington do a crossover movie. Crazy Rich Asians. This movie not only made me cry, but also if you're a person like me that grew up in an Asian family, you definitely will hit close to home. Creed 2, maybe not as great as the original Creed, but see even the sons of Drago and Creed fight off each other with a really great continuation of the Rocky Creed legacy was amazing. Deadpool 2, I really wanted it to be in my top 10 list, and as much as I love the movie and it was better in Deadpool 1, it still wasn't as good as Deadpool 1, even though they brought Juggernaut to life in a really great fashion, and I just really didn't like what they did with Vanessa. And Incredibles 2, surprisingly, didn't make my list with all the great anime movies, and I really wanted to see Incredibles 2. It just didn't live up to the hype of the first Incredibles, but it was an incredible sequel in so many ways. Now let's get on to number one. Avengers Infinity War. Oh snap, this movie wasn't just a movie, it was an event. After 10 years of the MCU, who would have thought such build-up for Thanos could deliver, but it did on all accounts. This movie was thrilling, entertaining, hilarious, action-packed, and it made me cry every ninth time I saw this in theaters. I saw this movie more than any other movie in theaters this year. When I got it on 4K, I watched it a bunch more times. Every time I watch it, I have to watch it start to finish. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. I know it ends on a cliffhanger, but doesn't negate that this movie is still one of cinematic history of a cinematic universe that built upon itself for 10 years and culminated into such an event. It makes me excited for Avengers Endgame to see how the Avengers save half of the universe from being snapped away from Thanos. Thank you guys for watching my top 10 movies of 2018. Remember that this is just my opinion, and I didn't see every movie in 2018, but this is just movies that really hit close home to me. If you want to support my channel and future videos, please visit my Patreon page at patreon.com/SeanXLong. I'll be putting out a lot more videos coming up, including top 10 action figures of 2018, as well as top 10 anticipated movies and many more top 10 lists. And thank you once again to DC Warnerverse for sending me this awesome Shazam ugly Christmas sweater. And for more, check my website at SeanXLong.com. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, links in the description. I'm Sean Long. May I live long and love life. Why would I want to live in Atlantis in the deep, dark sea with a bunch of fish? What good reason is for me to go down there?